As we talked about earlier, there have been some issues with polling places closing in Kentucky. Unfortunately, New York also has its own issues when it comes to voters and the ability to just go out there and cast your ballot. So New York's primary election day has been plagued with reports of missing ballots, misinformation about dropping off absentee ballots, machine malfunctions, last minute polling location changes, and a lack of Wi-Fi at some polling locations as well. So many voters are only receiving a presidential primary ballot, but not a second ballot with the local elections. So according to Gothamist, poll workers didn't know there were 2 ballot sheets. 30 minutes of relentless arguing and discussion to convince them to look and find it, said one voter in the Bronx on Twitter. Oversight not deliberate, rather disorganized, unacceptable. Others denied a proper vote. Also, as I mentioned earlier, polls were moved in the last minute. And so the New York City Board of Elections tweeted, please note that due to COVID-19, there were some emergency poll site changes. A mailing was sent to all voters affected, but we ask all voters to check before heading to vote. And as I mentioned earlier, people are getting some of the wrong ballots. It's just been a nightmare. And what I fail to understand is how are states not prepared at this point? It's not like coronavirus and the pandemic started a week ago. And this is why I get frustrated, because we already know what Republicans are gonna try to do for the general election. What are Democrats doing to make sure that everyone who wants to vote is able to vote? What are Democrats doing to ensure that mail-in voting is available to anyone who wants to vote that way, as opposed to going to a physical voting location? Like these are situations that we need to get fixed right away, right now. We need to make it as easy as possible for people who want to vote to be able to vote. And I hate seeing these stories every time we cover the primary elections. It's like we never learn any lessons.
I said, and that's Anna Kasparian from 1963, because it's the same frustration has been going on in this country for so long. We talk about it in the scope of Corona. It's astonishing that we can't get it together, and what you're saying is further proof, and how frustrated you are by it is just this continuing conversation that has happened for too long. The states cannot get this together is astonishing.
Yeah, so our own Emma Vigeland is in New York, and she's chasing down this story. And we know that Jamal Bowman is out there trying to help in every way that he can and look into the long lines and the issues that Anna brought up. Obviously, he's highly motivated to do that. And look, I don't know if this is overgeneralizing, but whatever problems exist between when it's between Republicans and Democrats in general elections, almost always break towards the Republicans. Why? Because the Republicans are the ones that want to limit voting. They're the ones who limit the polling areas, do the voter purges, etc. So it's not an accident that all the quote unquote breaks favor the Republicans, because they're trying hard to limit your vote. And in primaries, seemingly every time, it helps the establishment candidate and not the challenger. And I don't think that that's a coincidence either. It's because this establishment candidate is already part of the establishment, and hence has machinery behind them and favors they can call in and people that are rooting for them from the inside. And so it's not necessarily exclusively, I couldn't possibly say that, but it does seem like it winds up helping the incumbent far, far more often than the challenger.
And the Shelby case obviously didn't help, and the fact that you have, we're living at a time where you have two of the best politicians in, I think, the history of the country, certainly in our lives, in Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell. And Mitch McConnell has very deftly and evilly, if you ask me, kept the renewal of the Voting Rights Act away from the Senate, away from being voted on. And that's why there's so much disarray as well. And that stuff can't be forgotten.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.